There's a saying that I recently heard that if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. That anonymous quote about risk-taking speaks to real truth. It is relevant to today's Christian, who is just comfortably sitting on a church pew. Yet its wise message gets drowned out in the hum of safety-obsessed, security-demanding world, and even our local assembly at times. God calls us to put our trust in Him and take a risk for His kingdom. Every generation has a voice crying in a wilderness, calling people to come back to God. In the all-time classic sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, Jonathan Edwards, the 1700s evangelist, renowned American Reformed theologian, preached this, emphasizing the widely held belief that hell is real and a functional place. He preached this hoping that the imagery and the message of the sermon would awaken his audience to the horrific reality that he argued awaited them should they continue without Christ. Edwards said, "It is the will of God that keeps wicked men from the depths of hell. This act of restraint has been humanity a chance to change their ways and return to Christ." Jonathan Edwards' sermon continues to be a leading example of the Great Awakening and is still used in religious and academic settings today. His contemporary, John Wesley, at the same time said this, "Catch on fire with enthusiasm and people will come for miles to watch it burn." When I was in the Navy, I came back to God. A shipmate from Louisiana gave me this bootleg tape of this guy. He drove the piano like a freight train, and he sang from his heart like nobody had ever heard. Keith Green was a one-time childhood prodigy, and he later converted to Christianity. He was not only on fire for God in the 70s and 80s, his enthusiasm burned for evangelism in a whole new dimension. And Bernie did indeed like a comet. You see, this evangelist at heart and musician had a gifting, but however, he died at the tender age of 28 years old in 1982. His short life was amazing and is the stuff of legend. His music and his contents are unbelievable. His memoirs remain with us to inspire and beckon us to bring us and others to the knowledge of God's grace. Songs written by Green include "You Broke Through," "You Put This Love in My Heart," "Asleep in the Light," as well as the most popular of his modern hymns, "Oh Lord, You're Beautiful," and "There Is a Redeemer." In the words of Mark Antony in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, "Here indeed was a gospel lyricist when comes another." There is one song that I consider his swan song and an evangelist anthem, "Asleep in the Light." Here's a lyric from it. "Oh bless me Lord, oh bless me Lord, you know it's all I ever hear. No one aches, no one hurts, no one even sheds one tear. He cries, he weeps, he bleeds, and he cares for your needs. And you just lay back and keep soaking it in. Oh, can't you see it's such sin? The world is sleeping in the dark. That's the church just can't fight, 'cause it's asleep in the light. How can you be so dead when you've been so well fed? Jesus rose from the grave, and you can't even get out of bed." You see, there was no compromise in Keith's life, and he was a severe risk taker. He tackled the music industry. He gave away his music for free, and he did just crazy things for the gospel. He said this, quote, "This generation of Christians is responsible for this generation and souls on this earth." He meant every word of that. There was another man who took challenges and changes, and he took it on. His name was Epaphroditus, and he was a member of the church from ancient Philippi, and he delivered some food supplies to Paul while he languished in a Roman jail. So as far as you know, this man did no preaching, he did no teaching, he had no high-profile portfolio of any kind. Yet he was committed to the work that God called him to, and he expended a great deal of energy trying to meet Paul's needs. In the process, he came down with serious illness. Paul wrote to the man's home church saying he almost died. If you had been Epaphroditus, would you have risked your life to be Paul's errand boy? Would you have chosen the dangers of a long and arduous trip and merely to deliver some much-needed food supplies or medical supplies? Or would you have just stayed home and prayed that Paul's stomach would not growl too loudly, or his wounds would heal better than any way you could heal with no medicine? This man was praised by Paul to his friends and told them to welcome him with Christian love and with great joy, and to be sure to honor people like him. Why? Because he risked his life for the work of Christ, and he was at the point of death while trying to do for me the things you couldn't do because you were so far away. Philippians 2:29 and 30. Mark Buntain, one of the first missionaries I saw after I got saved up in New Hampshire, he passed away of a lung ailment after serving in Calcutta most of his adult life. There are risks occurring when the outcome remains in doubt, so the danger of an undesirable risk always exists. Yet ask Epaphroditus, who almost died because of risk-taking. Ask Mark Buntain that he died due to risk-taking. Keith Green, John Wesley. Not all risks bring glory to God. We need to take risks wisely, but God knows from the end, from the beginning, and He calls us to put our trust in Him and take a risk for the kingdom. What risks are you taking? What risk do you plan to take? When do you plan to do it? Don't be afraid to take a big step, said Prime Minister during World War I. You can cross a chasm in 2 small jumps. Epaphroditus has agreed to that. There is a point here that God rejoices when His children take risks for you. I hope you can have a great week. This is Jim Wallace from Crossroads International Church. It's time to take a risk for the kingdom's sake. I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening.